Welcome back, everyone. If I can just ask you to take a seat. So welcome back from the break. I hope we're getting into the swing of things. Just a reminder, if you want to access the translation app, please scan the QR code on the screen. We do realize that it's running quite slowly, so if you're having a problem with the Wi-Fi, you might want to use your own data just for a little bit. We are doing our best to try and get that sorted, so hopefully it'll be sorted shortly. You may have realized I'm not Rose, she's just being interviewed at the moment, so I'm Emma from Co-ops UK, so just welcoming you back after the break. If you'd like to carry on the conversation about tech, then you can head up to the Bright Hall on the second floor through this door, where John, Rob and Co-Tech collaborate on what's next for owning our tech. In the council chamber, just through there, we have the premiere of a Changemakers documentary, which we've worked on with Around the World Co-op, featuring the simply inspiring Sumo Whole Foods and Equal Care Co-op. Next, we have a fantastic session for you in the main hall, discussing how cooperatives build a better world. And I'll hand over to Rebecca Harvey, Executive Editor of the Co-op News. Thanks.
So first of all, a massive hello and welcome to this panel, which is going to be a conversation about the global outlook for our global cooperative movement. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome so many friends in this room from so many different parts of the world. And I'm equally delighted to introduce a panel with a really, really global outlook. As Emma mentioned, my name is Rebecca Harvey and I'm the Executive Editor of Co-op News. And for those who don't know, Co-op News is a magazine and a news website about the worldwide cooperative movement. With me on stage, we have Jeroen Douglas, who is the Director General of the International Cooperative Alliance. We have Andrew Pakes, who is the Labour and Co-op MP for Peterborough, and is also Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Mutuals. We also have Noel Raboy, who is the President and Chief Executive of Climbs Life and General Insurance Co-op in the Philippines. We have Debbie Robinson, who wears, well, everyone wears many hats on this panel, but Debbie in particular wears a lot of hats. She's here as Chief Executive of Central Co-op, but I'm sure we will talk about many other things as well. And last but not least, we have Todor Ivanov, who is Secretary General of Euro Co-op. I think this panel is incredibly important because we are here today, halfway through the second International Year of Cooperatives. And a lot of you know there's been a big festival of cooperation across Manchester this week. And one thing I've taken away from lots of conversations is that the International Year is a starting block. It's not a finish line. And the theme of the IYC, of course, is Co-ops Build a Better World. Another thing that has struck me through my conversations is that build is a verb. It's a doing word. What are we doing? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to build? What can we do better? And what is in our way? So today's conversation, we're going to touch on why the co-op movement, despite its really significant social and economic contributions, is really underrepresented in business narratives. We're going to look at some of the successful business strategies and case studies from around the world. We're going to hear how co-ops can stay true to values in a fractured world. And we're going to look to the future. How can co-ops support each other to be better, to be a more compelling voice in national and international policy and business rhetoric? And as I said earlier, how can we all be better builders? So we're going to have a chat for about 45 minutes or so, and then we'll have time for a nice lot of questions at the end. But I'm going to stop talking now and first of all hand over to Jeroen Douglas. So Jeroen, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a very busy year for you. Your first year as Director General. You just approved the strategy for the ICA at the General Assembly. So what's the global outlook from your perspective?
So thank you. Great to be on this panel and here. So the global outlook is a big question, of course. Let me just focus on the International Year that has started. It's the second one in a bit more than a decade. Pauline Green welcomed it back then. I now give all the thanks to the United Nations for this beautiful gift. But this International Year comes together with a tipping point year, as I call it. 2025 is also marked as the transition year where a large geopolitical and geo-economical paradigm shift is taking place. So this so-called Kondratiev wave, this famous economist described that every 40 years we move to a dramatic change in power shift. Well, the last one was when the Berlin Wall fell, and now we are moving to another huge change. And the global landscape looks bright because co-ops have shown that they are able to survive the First World War, the Second World War, and I'm sure also the huge change that comes to us right now. It's all about enshittification, the previous speaker, but for me that is a metaphor for how the whole economy is an enshittification, not only the tech world. Co-ops are there to de-enshittify, and we are having the answer to that. So I really feel that the first year and a half has been an interesting ride in my position as Director General to support and try to amplify the story of co-ops because, and that's the last thing, we need to do better in terms of communication. It was Barack Obama who said, co-ops are the best kept secret, and we need to unlock that.
Thank you. No, that's a really good introduction. I think one thing I'd like to pull out as well this year, you've also set up the Cooperative Mutuals 50. I wonder if you could say a little bit about that, because that is as a storytelling mechanism on a global stage could be quite a powerful thing.
The what exactly? I'm sorry.
The CM50.
Oh yes, I'm sorry about that. So, at the opening of the International Year in Delhi last November, in the corridors, many sector leads came and they say, you know what, we need to take advantage of this 2025 year of change, and let's bring our C-suite leaders from the larger co-ops in the world together. So Cooperative Mutuals 50, a fantasy name linking to G20, G77, is a statement that we are building up now towards the second World Social Summit that will take place in the first week of November in Doha, Qatar. It's the second. The first one was in 1995, when the aftermath of this Berlin Wall fell was there and euphoria was in the air. The winning model, the end of history, is the neoliberal capitalist model. We only need to ensure there is prosperity for all, sustainability for all, and peace for all. Well, 30 years down the line, it's a sobering reality that this is not at all the case. So at this Second World Social Summit, by the way, the first one was the foundations for the Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainability Development Goals. Secretary General Antonio Guterres is inviting all the heads of states to discuss really the future of this new economy. So CM50 is a social contract for a new global economy. We want to pitch that as an alternative. And we believe that we are a new Davos, because also the moral compass of the World Economic Forum was unable to solve the three issues I've meant. And I believe we need to get out of our holes and not suffer anymore from our inferiority complex, but show that we are the real leaders of a future economy.
Thank you.
That's CM50 all about.
Debbie, I'm going to jump to you now, if that's okay. Have you got a microphone there? Yeah, brilliant. Because you are, of course, a member of the CM50 alongside many other roles. So in your view, how do you think co-op leaders can use their position to build a better world?
I'm just going to, oh, it's on. That's brilliant. Thank you. Well, I want to start off by thanking Jeroen, and I want to start by thanking the other members of the CM50, so I can see a few of them in the room here today. Thank you for taking the initiative, because again, we're really good at talking as co-ops, aren't we? And we actually preach the converted quite a bit. But what I love about it is the clear call to action. It's on us. We couldn't have a better platform. United Nations designating the year as the International Year of Co-operatives and Mutual. It's a gift. In the UK, we have a government whose ambition is to double the size of the co-op and the mutuals economy. Again, so far, bit of a statement. Where's the plan behind it? But historically, we have looked to others to kind of to help us. And I'd like to go back to the pioneers, of course, resided here in Rochdale before social media was invented. before the Internet of Things, but actually word spread incredibly quickly. And I think the bottom line is, if you've got a good enough idea, people will want to adopt it. And I think the root issue is, as co-ops, we need to be more successful than we currently are. And we need to use the founding principles of self-help and self-responsibility, and to seize at the moment that is in front of us. They're not always easy things to say, but I think most of us that have worked in the movement most of our working lives, you know, if we're being honest with each other. So I missed the tech presentation that was just before the break. I heard it was absolutely phenomenal. As part of the CM50, 3 ideas have emerged for us to take forward. One of them is around education, which Phil Ponsonby, who's in the room, was leading on, and also peace, which Shireen Corey-Hack had raised. And then our group had the idea of the Internet of Things. A new cloud, arguably even a new currency that co-ops could actually trade. But we have to trade our way out of this. And I think we have to focus and give greater priority to co-op trade. We need to be better at identifying the challenges that we have individually and collectively, and find cooperative solutions to this. Our society has been involved in the hackathons that Cooperatives UK have organised. There are brilliant ideas coming out, but we have to pull together and we have to find some very simple mechanics that we can all buy into and contribute towards financially, because we're all spending a lot of money with other organisations, and we don't think twice about dropping $500,000 in the pockets of PwC or KPMG. But if we were to bring all of that together and actually create our own expertise. In fact, we have brilliant expertise already in our apex bodies. Cooperatives UK are currently helping us through a potential transfer of engagements by giving professional help and support that absolutely maintain the integrity of cooperation.
Thank you, Debbie. I know that for you, Debbie, that co-op trade is incredibly important, both at Central Co-op and through a few of the other activities that you personally are involved in. In particular, I'm just going to draw out the Fund for International Co-op Development, which Debbie is now chair of. There is a separate session on co-op development tomorrow, which I really encourage people to go to, which has more women on the panel. The scheduling went a bit wonky. But Debbie, I wonder if you could say just very, very briefly about the fund. Yes,
thanks very much, and thank you for your support. And I also have a fellow director in Todor, who runs Euro Co-op. So the Fund for International Cooperative Development for us is, and for other societies who are the founding members, again, I'll just call out Mid-Counties Co-op, I'll call out Co-op Group, I'll call out Lincolnshire Co-op. We've had members join from the Philippines, so very quickly it's becoming a truly international fund itself, and we are again supported by Cooperatives UK in terms of helping us with the construct to make sure that we do that in a truly democratic and cooperative way. For us, it's a natural extension of fair trade, which co-ops have led on all over the world, actually. And Jeroen has a history of working with the Fair Trade Foundation and the introduction of the Fair Trade Mark, as we did here in the UK 31 years ago. It goes further in that it's not just about a fair trade mark, so a little bit extra for the producers. And there are 3 key strands to it. One of them is a rebuild post-conflict, and gosh, aren't we going to need that in the not too distant future. And the other is immediate help in the need of, in the time of conflict. And we were able to support Co-op Ukraine through Co-op Poland just as the war broke out. And the other part is the trade aspect of it. And this is very much part of our Malawi partnership. So this is less about aid and absolutely about trade. It's about making a commitment to the growth and development, economic participation in co-ops through working with producer countries to organise themselves as true and effective co-ops and committing to trading with them through thick and thin. So if there is a natural disaster, if the weather doesn't produce the sort of crop, of course you have to go looking elsewhere in that moment, but it is not breaking your cooperative commitment to continually work with those communities and to support them and lift them out of poverty. This will give the movement future food security. With the geopolitical environment that we're all operating in, we are going to need our cooperative friends and allies all over the world. And that sort of kind of neatly comes back to the idea at the CM50 of coop.com, which is, you know, an ethical eBay, a platform to rival and actually to blow Amazon out of the water. And we do need, the technological revolution should make it so much easier than it was for the Rochdale pioneers to get the message across and to organise ourselves effectively.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. It's interesting you touch on geopolitical challenges because this is at the heart of everything that's going on in EuroCoop as well. So let me introduce Todor. So tell us briefly about EuroCoop and give us the European perspective and the consumer movement perspective on the state of cooperation at the moment. Just a small question.
Thank you very much. Good day to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So Rebecca, I mean, EuroCoop brings together 19 different consumer co-op federations in 19 different countries. They're all of different sizes, they're of different cultural backgrounds, historical backgrounds, legislative frameworks are different, everything is different, but one thing is common, they're all co-ops, and that helps. And it's predominantly in the same market, the retail market. Our mission in EuroCoop is since 1957, we're actually the first European sector established in Brussels, is to lobby Brussels, to lobby the institutions. That's why we're there, and we've always been there, and I hope we'll always be there. There are challenges, though. There's great potential, but there are challenges. Let's start with the challenges. One challenge that faces, I think, all consumer co-ops across the continent is over-regulation, especially coming from Brussels. Now, I know that after Brexit, Brussels is less relevant for the UK food co-ops, the consumer co-ops, but at least the ones that are still in the European Union, that is a huge problem because over-regulation of just more and more rules placed on economic operators, specifically retailers. That is one challenge. Connected to that is inadequate legislative and policy frameworks. So an example of that is in one of the strategic papers of the European Commission on how we can support the retail sector across the wide EU. One of the examples is to overcome the challenge of access to capital is, well, retailers could also use angel investors and private investment. And we had to explain to the Commission, that's fantastic, but how would that work in a cooperative retailer? That wouldn't happen because it would violate the one member, one rule and equity and principles. So over-regulation. Then when there is regulation, it's inadequate for the cooperative specificities. That, setting aside that, another challenge is growing competition. Growing competition from multinational retailers, from national retailers, private companies that are vertically integrated. And that creates an additional pressure on our members. One of the ways out, and I think the easiest way out, is more direct collaboration, co-op to co-op business. We need to trade ourselves out of these challenges. And Debbie is right, we need fresh ideas, but I think we need to dream and to dream boldly. And I thank Debbie for, since she's joined EuroCoop 5 years ago.
Another hat.
Another hat, Vice President of EuroCoop. Yes, thank you. I would say Executive Vice President of EuroCoop. And to dream big. And I would like to thank Jeroen as well, since joining the ICA, that you introduced this dream, big dreams, back to the movement that I think we have lost as a global movement since Dame Pauline Green was heading the alliance. So we need to dream big, but then dreams are not enough. We need to act. And we act by co-op to co-op. You touched upon the fund. That is one way of building direct, first of all, helping capacity building on local level with the idea of integrated direct value chains. And the Malawi project, which Central Co-op did launch 2 years ago, I believe, is a fantastic example of that. So challenges all over the place, but let's conclude with, I will conclude with this other oxymoron. It comes back to the policymakers and their understanding of not only consumer co-ops, but retailers. So on the one side, retailers are always bashed that you're either selling food too cheap because the farmers cannot get a premium, or it's too expensive for the consumer. But we cannot do both at the same time. So it's either too cheap or too expensive. It cannot be both. But when that type of logic finds its way into policy, we need to square the circle. We need to find the balance there. And retailers don't know what to do. Do we start paying premiums, but then the price goes up? But then that is not okay for the consumer. So how do you do that? How do you fix that vicious circle?
Have you got an answer to that yet?
Yeah, co-op private label, I think, is a great way forward, because there it is not only, it's not a matter of, it is the matter of the price, but it's actually having the true price of products. The current prices that everyone, all of us are consumers, and it's very easy to understand. All of us shop in stores. When you go and buy something, you don't know whether this price is the actual true price of the product, taking into consideration the environmental, the social, and the economic sustainability. At the moment, price from a business economic perspective is so long as I take something and then I sell it for a profit. That's the economic indicator. That's fine. Yeah, but where is the social price and the environmental price of the product? That is not factored in. They're currently external to the price. So the only way, and I think co-ops, food co-ops, can be instrumental in changing the rhetoric, shifting the paradigm, and explaining to the policymakers that it is doable through the private label. Thank you.
Interesting, thank you. From Europe, we're going to move to the Asia Pacific region, and Noel Raboy, who, as I said, was the Chief Executive of Climes. Could you explain a little bit about your organisation and what you do? Because there's some fascinating things going on in the Philippines.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Could you hold the mic a little bit closer?
Okay, thank you. Climes is a cooperative insurance in the Philippines, and we are around 10 million insured Filipinos, impacting around 35 million. And that model, as a cooperative model, we been part of the 100-year celebration of the Cooperative College UK, and we showcase also our education. It is here, the same hall, and on that cooperative education, for us who were here together with our chairperson and some of the management team, we're able to unlock that the power of cooperatives is too huge that we need to connect it with the people. So one of that is the Climes model, because it is organized by primary cooperatives. Their passion is to help, to protect, and we are very lucky in the Philippines because out of our net surplus, the 10% allocation for education, and with that, because for the past 50 years, we are very still in the credit savings model for our primary cooperatives, but when we look into cooperative business, it's not that much. In fact, access of capital is not well being given to the cooperatives, and our location also is we are in archipelago. We have 7,101 islands. So it means to say we are cooperative, but we are also very individualistic. So it is on the Cooperative College of UK that we said, okay, we are not an insurance anymore. We are not just only an insurance. We can scale through education. But bringing co-op leaders is very expensive here. So that's why we ask when we went to the Rochdale Pioneers and experienced that values and principles that differentiate the corporation and the cooperative model. And I think all of us, because of the Rochdale Pioneers, missionaries went to the Philippines and bring cooperative model. And to have a better world, I think we have to align our co-ops minds in the Philippines. We have to align our mindset of these principles and values. That's why we are very passionate when you look into having business enterprise. No? An example for that, as of now, what we need is the advocacy, because regulations are not that favorable to the cooperative model, and that is being maybe influenced by capitalists. So we don't have that much cooperative enterprise. We are mesmerized when we saw Co-op Mart within UK and Europe. But you cannot find that in the Philippines, because if you put up a Co-op Mart, then tax and government regulations will tell you are transacting to non-members. So that's why advocacy will play a vital role to bring also our legislators, our leaders, politicians, what this cooperative model all about. And we are going that to our Philippine Chamber of Co-ops, because it is non-profit organization that advocates mainly on values and principles on doing business. Second, also, we are very thankful for the Cooperative College of UK that we can have also the co-op college, even though it's a replica, because some of us cannot afford to come here, and we will bring also co-op leaders to that experience. When I went to Pioneers Museum, I can still feel the 1800s, and that's a motivation when we went back to the Philippines and we will change our strategy. It's not anymore how many premiums that you will reach, how many bottom line, the return of investment that you will give to your investors. But you are looking here, how many Filipinos that we will insure. And we will insure the vulnerables. We will go with parametric insurance, because government and private companies will not do that, because they are profit-centered or capitalists. So it changed the way we look at it. And I think by having us here part of this panel, we are bringing around almost 300 cooperative leaders in the Philippines in the partnership with Coop College UK. And that is yearly. And next year, that will be opened. And we hope that ICA can make that also one of the flagship, bringing far countries that have access to that. Because education is the key for cooperatives. Without that education, we will be shifting. Thank you. We will be shifting. Yesterday, I joined the COP Identity. And I know some of us, especially primary cooperatives that would like investors, passive investors, will put it their capital and make some good return, because the cooperative's been there for so long. In the Philippines, we put that one as passive investor. We still enroll with them, but they are not entitled to vote. They are member not in good standing. Our worries now is on the federation, because in the federation, if the model of the cooperative in democratic control will be corporized in a corporate model, then that will become exclusive. And once exclusivity will come in because you cannot join, then I think our Rochdale pioneers, I saw them that they're able to shake their hands. I hope that they will discuss again once we will upgrade or discuss about what will be the co-op identity. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. That's an absolutely brilliant description of how you change your mindset. And you're so right about education being such a key part of it. I don't know if Dulce in the room, Dulce Bustamante, is she not here? I was having a conversation with her last week about the Co-op Laboratory project, which is a project that involves setting up co-ops in schools, supported by guardian co-ops from primary federations, or primary cooperatives, sorry. And that idea of education seeding down through generations is absolutely vital. So congratulations on what you're doing. It's fantastic to hear, and I'm sure we'll hear more from you shortly. Andrew, let's bring it back to the UK for a second. So Andrew, as I said, is a Member of Parliament, and he's also chair of the APPG, the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Mutuals. So for those who are new to the term, Andrew, could you explain a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, of course. And let me firstly say, I feel hugely privileged to be here with you all. After all the day-to-day things you imagine happens in politics, it feels like coming home, coming to a co-op movement. I am a child of the movement, and politics can be tough, public life can be tough, and I just get energy from all of these wonderful conversations. Quite literally, when I was growing up, if we had a royal family, our queen was Pauline Green. So we are cooperators through and through in our thing. And actually, I think the conversation we've had, which links to the APPG, which is really important, is that, and listening to all of these really rich conversations, which is, I think the world is at an influx moment where it could go bad, or it could decide to come back from that moment. I genuinely think that to be really, really true. I think there is a battle out there, and one of those critical battles is about the definition of community. I think there are people and movements sat in different rooms to us who are trying to make community about exclusion and drawing up bridges and putting barriers between people. And what has always sustained me through my politics is this sense that community is an open, plural, outward-looking concept. And that battle for who defines what communities are will be one of the underlying battles of our era. Community through economics, community through equality, community through power in the world between nations, but within nations and within communities. And I fear in a world where we should try to be popular. That's not bad for politicians. But the trouble is we are losing out to a battle of those who are populist. And there are far-right movements and far-right politicians who are cutting the legs off net zero and climate, cutting away women's rights, taking money away from social inclusion and tackling poverty, giving money to their rich friends and away from the communities that deserve it. Those are the battle lines. And the greatest tribune we have in that global battle is the movement we are talking about today. And to me, that big politics defines what I do as local. So you actually asked me a different question. But I was so moved by the conversations amongst friends this morning in this panel, just to say that big point, which is actually what I do day to day as a local MP actually links to that bigger picture of how we tell those stories locally. So an all-party parliamentary group, you ask, what is that strange thing? It's a thing in Parliament which is a group of MPs, cross-party, which brings us together to push and develop issues. So I'm chair of the all-party group on mutuals, which works with mainly Labour and co-op MPs, but people from other parties as well, to build a consensus about the role of mutuals and co-ops in society. We're working really closely with the government's mutuals and cooperative council, being a connection point between MPs and our communities, between that big ambition of how do we double the size of the cooperative movement. I always say it's about the plumbing and wiring. You know, the ambition of the movement will come from the movement, but what politicians can do is we can make sure the wiring of government and the plumbing of government is there in a way that helps the cooperative movement. And that may seem small on one level, but it's a huge privilege to get to try and replumb government so it helps build a movement rather than creates barriers for a movement.
I think you're going to need some, yeah, some fun. I was going to say, I think we need some bigger plumbing, hopefully, this year, because, of course, Labour's pledge to double the co-op and mutual economy in the UK has been held up as an example around the world. So I guess from your perspective as an MP internally, what is the real-world political support for achieving this? And what's the real-world political support for achieving doubling the economy, the co-op economy?
Yeah, well, I think we need to build that concept. We now have a government which has come in, and we've had a Prime Minister and a Chancellor, Senior Finance Minister, set out that ambition for doubling the size of the cooperative and mutual economy. And that can mean many things. It could just mean the big co-ops growing. And that's not a bad thing, because we grow the cooperative ideal. It can also mean we plant 1,000 acorns and create capacity and capability to allow community co-ops. And I actually think they're linked. I think we need the big players in this space to work with the medium and small players to see how we build that bulwark against populism in there. So I'm really pleased that the cooperative members of the Cooperative and Mutual Council are working with government around some of those social objectives. How do we work? Big issues like housing and others, social care, which we know are major challenges. You know, this movement is best when it leans into the challenges we face. And in the UK, we know, like many other countries, affordable housing that people can rent and find security as a decent home is one of them. How do we look after our elderly or those who are most vulnerable, who are younger? That social care are two big issues. They're big issues because either the free market has either fleeced us all and taken the money out of the market, or the free market sees it as not a profit margin, so it doesn't want to get into the market. In that creative space is a world where cooperatives can demonstrate a different economic model. And actually what's brilliant about rooms like this and congresses like this is that for a British politician, there is so much we can learn from other parts of the world. And this is not about Britain projecting itself, it's about Britain learning and reaching out. And I know there's some brilliant examples of social care cooperatives, housing cooperatives in different parts of the world. And one of the things I'm doing as a British MP is putting forward this bill around cooperative housing tenure, because one of the spanners we need to fix the plumbing of cooperative housing in the UK is that the law for co-op tenancies is just arcane. That makes it harder for people who want to form a housing co-op. It also makes it harder for people who want to get finance for a housing co-op, because you're charged more by banks, or banks don't recognise you exist because you're this odd thing which doesn't exist in legal terms. So putting that legislation forward, working with things, won't build us more housing co-ops, but it will give power to the movement so that you can build more housing co-ops, because we remove the barriers from the way. And to me, that's the dynamic we want. How do we work as politicians to create the conditions in which the movement itself can continue to grow and thrive?
That's really helpful. Thank you, Angie. I guess moving, associated with that, my next question is around policy, because this has been a common thread through all the answers that we've had today. So my question is, what tools can co-ops and governments use to promote the growth of co-ops nationally and internationally? What policy levers can we be pulling? And I'll open it up to whoever wants to take this. Jeroen?
Yeah. Well, as I said already earlier, we will face some formidable changes. You were talking just about housing, for instance, but numbers show that also due to climate change, large parts of Africa will become uninhabitable, and large parts of Asia will also become uninhabitable because of too much heat, simply, and a lack of water. So I don't want to sound too dystopian here, but between now and 2050, we expect another 2 to 3 billion migrants moving to safer spaces. 2 to 3 billion migrants. And we can just say, wow, that's happening, but we rather bring in cooperative housing for community building, preparing this huge wave, which is almost unimaginable, but then let it go and see what happens. So I believe co-ops can help to steer the design of a more resilient planet. And the good thing is, it's now 2 days ago that our General Assembly, we adopted our new strategy 2026-2030 with a outlook way beyond that, by the way, which is about practicing, promoting, and also protecting the co-ops and their future. And one of the core elements is that we need to build a co-op cloud, A technology space is another example. How we can also build our counter technology against the so-called Magnificent Seven. Again, this is in reference to this enshittification speech we've heard earlier. And I believe with Co-op Cloud we can and must build our own free space. And there's a lot of opportunities there as well. In terms of food, and that's the last example I will give, between now and 2050, it's been calculated the globe needs to produce 70% more food than we already do. And that's even not calculating all the inefficiencies and waste of food. It's just the bare need to feed all the growing population their changing diet. Co-ops need to be our climate heroes in the field of food and retail and banking. So there's so much to do, but we need to get better organized and have a very clear proposition. So that's how I believe the co-op movement can build a future, build a better world for us all.
Thank you, Jeroen. Can I just bring it back to Noel, actually, because I know at Climes you have some very specific climate resilience policies, don't you?
I think Jeroen nailed it down, no? When you talk about how cooperatives can help also on the mitigation and resiliency. Climes in the Philippines, we are sad that we are always have the typhoon, 20 typhoons in a year, with 5 typhoons who are with inland and mostly aggressive and devastating. So we look in through partnership also with ICMIF. ICMIF helped us to support our requirements, and this is where that cooperations among cooperatives will come in, because insurance is not just a premium that we look into. We look into how we can support our farmers after loss, after typhoon. So of course there are some losses that, and then government, they are still on the indemnity side, but we are still gaining our advocacy that we can influence the government that they will, in fact, we told them, we will give you this model because we believe that the model of this insurance owned by the cooperative can help our farmers, can support our issues of food security. So cooperative model really, to fast track our traction, I think the values of solidarity, understanding each one of us, then anything happens.
Thank you. Todor, did you want to come in on this policy aspect?
Yeah, I mean, it's very complex, but we need to break it down into the basic components. Public policy is there to fix problems, but so are co-ops. And of course, so are private businesses, I imagine, so long as they make a profit, which is, and probably maximize profit. So I think, at least this is my own personal view, we need a paradigm shift and a change in the way we define the relationship between what public policy is, why it's there, and its relationship to the solutions it tries to produce. And because what we see is more and more of the solutions mobilized to fix public, or as a result of public policy, are privately owned solutions, vehicles, and cooperatives need to enter that space. Now, to enter that space, the people drafting public policy need to understand that and need a change in their paradigm. If we had at least 50% of the people in elected office like Andrew, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So it's really public policy and how co-ops can find their place in that conversation, because it's the same, we have the same objective. So policymakers trying to make policy to fix people's problems. But that's the mission, the raison d'être of cooperatives. It's not that hard. So I was listening to Stephen Gill earlier about access to capital. Well, for co-ops to get capital, most of the time, if not all the time, they have to go to non-co-op solutions. So why? So that means the non-co-op solutions, there's the privately owned solutions. Well, we need to have our co-op exchange. When we're, as Jeroen said, we have a housing catastrophe coming probably. We need more cooperative housing because the added value stays locally.
It's interesting, thank you. And I guess that really impacts the outlook of cooperatives as well, because if you get the policy right, that supports co-ops and supports co-op growth. It is tricky. But coming back to growth, this is another thing that has come up again in a lot of conversations around the individual versus community, and how you can grow co-ops while keeping them rooted in membership, which is obviously the vital part. Debbie, obviously, membership is a huge part of what you do at Central. So in your view, how can co-ops grow without compromising their values for a better outlook for their cooperative mission?
So I think the way co-ops could grow much more rapidly than they currently do. So certainly, you know, in the UK, we are not in a rapid growth phase by any stretch of the imagination. Is being truer to cooperative values and principles, is celebrating the point of difference and not pretending on occasions not to be a co-op. So I think there is the difference between co-ops and our competitors, if we look at the UK, is too small. So we've mentioned fair trade already. Well, you can buy fair trade in Aldi and Lidl, Tesco and Asda and absolutely everywhere. So this has to come down to courage. It has to be about thought leadership. It has to be very purpose-led and rooted in democracy by identifying from your member base what are the issues that are facing our members currently that they want us to find a solution to. I think there's something about recruitment and recruiting for people that are true to cooperative values and principles and don't see it as a way into a job to turn it into a PLC. So I think we've got to take a lot of stock ourselves on how we choose to operate. And then I think how we really, really grow is by harnessing the power of cooperation. Each and every time we make a decision, are we seeing if there is a cooperative solution? So insurance, financing, banking, they all exist as cooperative solutions, but how many of us have chosen a cooperator to work with? So there's a lot on each and every one of us, and there is definitely this thought leadership around where are we going directionally, what are the requirements of a thriving movement into the future, and to be quite frank, putting our money where our mouth is and contributing towards these initiatives. And really supporting it, trusting. So for a time, we're probably running the systems that we currently do whilst creating serious, sustainable platforms for the future that we are prepared to invest in. But absolutely true to cooperation will be the route to our growth.
Thank you, Debbie. So I think it's been quite an interesting conversation just about where the outlook is. There's some positives, there's some negatives. Got a bit of work to do, which is quite exciting. It's hard work, we'll get there, be fine. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to open the floor for questions. I'm sure, hopefully, there'll be some questions that people want to come in. Otherwise, we'll keep nattering. But any questions from the floor? I've got Tanya at the back and this gentleman at the front as well. Let's go Tanya first, and then we'll come to the front.
Hi, I'm Tanya from Central. It's mainly to Andrew, really, regarding policies and in government. So we've got all the solutions in this room about getting people out of poverty, housing, everything. But when we write to the government, we're just sent to procurement. So my ask is, can you have a look at procurement and that co-ops are on the top of the agenda, but also how we can influence that policy as well. So it's an ask, please.
Andrew, do you want to come back to it?
Do you want to do them one at a time or do
We can do a couple. Gentleman at the front.
I'd just like to ask the panel.
And introduce yourself as well. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm Mark Lewis from Cooperative Climate Action. So that's what it says on the thing. And I'd just like to ask the panel, do they think the cooperative movement can do more to combat the climate crisis than they're doing at the moment? And if so, what? I won't ask that to Debbie because she's doing it already, I think.
Andrew, do you want to come back on the politics first?
Yep, I think that was it, I haven't got my glasses on, it's Tanya at the back.
Tanya.
I think that's you've given me some homework, I will happily do that. I know there is a really big piece of work happening in government around procurement and social value. I've been engaged around it because I'm particularly interested in ensuring we get my other passion in life, apprenticeships and local skilled labour and opportunities. And when money is spent through government procurement and others in a locality, then it actually benefits the community through creating opportunities. I hadn't picked up, which is my ignorance, that the cooperative movement wasn't part of those conversations, but mission accepted. Let's make sure we stay in touch, and I will raise that with our ministers and others and see if we can make some progress on it, because I think it's a really valuable point.
Before we come to the climate, I'm just going to come to Nicola, because Nicola is with the Co-op Council's Innovation Network, and they're doing a lot of work with procurement. So did you want to come back on that as well, Nick?
I will. Thank you very much. Nicola Huckabee, Co-op Council's Innovation Network. Andrew, Tuesday at the LGA conference, the network launched a council's co-op development toolkit, working with government. Our founder is Jim McMahon and Steve Reed and Baroness Sharon Taylor. Anybody who'd like to come to the online session, come and speak to me. It's on the 23rd of July. We'd love to have you there, either speaking or just to listen in. But there are things happening, and that's what's so brilliant about this movement. You know, we're all working together.
We're cooperating, in fact.
We're cooperating. How wonderful is that?
Jeroen, can we be doing more for the environment and the climate crisis?
I would like to respond to the question on climate and the solutions co-ops could bring. Just a few examples we are now also trying to push at a global scale. One is that we have entered into a partnership with regenerative agriculture, regenagri.org. It is with the idea that we line up a large group of cooperative farmers worldwide in building net zero food supply chains. So it's all about smart water use, healthy soil management, reforestation and biodiversity on field in the landscape, and last but not least, carbon capturing technology. That needs to be brought to individual consumers through retail. So Regen Agri is the new fair trade, I would say. Another example that we're building at a global scale is, and that's also in the housing front, is building much smarter housing structures. Also in relation to the migration flow I've just mentioned, I think co-op can play a very vital role in all that. And there's a series of other concrete solutions that we want to bring to the entire movement. So there's plenty to do, and I think co-ops are very well positioned to make a good step, in particular in the field of adaptation. When it comes to mitigation, you go with the flow, and that's the last example. If you want to be net zero and you are not yet there because of your own energy transition taking more time, there is also a cooperative solution to buy or to offset your carbon footprint through the purchasing of cooperative carbons from surplus regions in the world that want to look for a premium. So Acorn is a platform that we have developed together with the Rabobank, a large cooperative bank, that helps to create a market space where supply and demand of carbon credits come together from a cooperative angle. So there are plenty of solutions that have a global scope, and we are going to communicate much more on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Question at the front from Dame Pauline Green.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Pauline Green. I was president of the International Cooperative Alliance, and I was chief executive of Co-ops UK. So I have a long experience, 40 years in the co-op movement. And thank you very much for everyone who mentioned the fact I'm here. I just wanted to say I listened to the first session in here about tech and what the problems are, and what the co-ops need to do for that. And I've listened to this one. both of which have been absolutely stimulating and brilliant, I have to say. I've really enjoyed them. In 2012, I had the privilege of opening the first International Year of Cooperatives in the United Nations General Assembly with Gordon Brown. And the theme between the two is that the theme is exactly the same. Cooperatives build a better world, building a better world. And what I'm listening to is all the challenges the co-op movement has to meet the problems of the moment. That was exactly the same in 2012. And my question is, for years I've thought there needs to be more innovation in the cooperative movement. Innovation around the principles of the Rochdale pioneers, but within the context of maintaining member control. And what I'd like to ask is, I've heard some things that are going on today, they're great, but we could do more if we innovated. And how much scope do you think, the panel, to innovate with the principles? I should tell you, I'm thinking particularly of the fact that I am a director of Co-op Exchange, which you alluded to, Todor, and it is a really exciting a piece of work, and I think it needs a little bit of innovation, and I'm up for that.
Thank you. Would anyone like to come back on that, on innovation? How can we innovate more?
Just briefly, so we're now building a portal on the ICA website that gives access to a suite of solutions, digital, Co-op Exchange being one of them. We're building concrete implementation verticals on smart access to capital, on smart data solutions through Co-op Cloud. We want to develop also this partnership further with regenerative agriculture. We're building with .coop hopefully also a cooperative cultural heritage program with innovative purposeful leadership journeys for young leaders joining the movement. And we hope also to build this digital marketplace much better, because I believe when the ICA was founded 130 years ago, we do three things well. I think on communication we could do better. We're doing a lot there. We try to unite the movement, certainly. We are the good custodians of our cooperative statement, but we are not doing good enough, which was the fourth reason why the ICA was created, is to encourage trade among co-ops. And now the good thing, that's maybe the difference with 13 years back, that the digital tools are better around now than, I believe we have a huge opportunity now to deliver this co-op cloud.
That's one plus the innovation. Debbie, do you want to back on this too?
So innovation absolutely will be our lifeblood. It has to be. And for me, the key thing is we've got to put our money where our mouth is. So we talk a lot in the movement, you know, we really do. This is an exceptional location and a great team of people. I think the CM50 is definitely a really great step forward around the ideation, and the energy that we've had, the facilitation of those groups has been exceptional. You know, literally you've got an hour and a half to kind of just put it out there, and the ideas, the innovation were not lacking, but there is something around how we organise ourselves and how we commit to financially to cooperative solutions to the needs of our members. And for me, we just need the money.
I think we finished now. Sorry. Go on.
Can I just say, weigh in
Very
this?
quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. A co-op is a co-op. I don't know if this is on. A co-op is a co-op, but it's not a charity. Business-wise decisions have to be made, no matter what. And I know it's a gray area, and it is a very uncomfortable conversation. But if we identify that in a given undertaking, staying prudently conservative, adhering to our principles and values to the letter is holding us back, then we should innovate on how those values and principles are applied, so long as the final result is in the general spirit of our principles and values. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm really sorry. We're going to have to stop now. Thank you so much, everybody. A huge round of applause for my panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and Jeroen, Debbie, Todor, Andrew, and Noel. What a fantastic panel it was. It truly sums up the opportunity that the International Year brings for us. So lots of food for thought for the rest of the weekend. So we now have our lunch break, plenty of time to network with colleagues, meet some of our international delegates, and we also have a range of exhibitors that I'm not going to go through right now. You can see them all downstairs along with the Cooperatives UK team. Lunch is available next door in the Zodiac Suite and downstairs in the Old Council Chamber off the main hall. There's seats in here and there's seats in the marquee, and we start back at 2:15. You can have a look in your programme for the details of that. So see you back shortly.